of Maddie's wedding. Maddie invited one of our good friends, Ray. It was just during the reception part and we were talking and he was like, I have this friend that I really want you to meet. And I was like, that's okay. And he was like, well, let me ask you this, do you like Asians? And I was like, okay, yes, I do. So he was like, okay, I'm having a party tomorrow night. It was a Sunday night. And he was like, just come, you can meet him there and it'll be great.
So I walked in and I noticed her right away and I was like, oh wow.
So my first thought was, wow, he's really cute. My second thought was, he's probably gonna be a jerk. He's like too handsome to not be a jerk.
And this book club was different. Instead of like books, it was just like questions about dating and like do's and don'ts and stuff like that. So it was like a good discussion.
I just was really impressed with his answers and he was really sincere and really, really sweet. And so I was like, okay, maybe he's gonna be a nice guy.
And when it was over, I was like helping to clean up and I was kind of avoiding her because I was a little nervous. And then Ray was like, hey Michael, have you met my friend Sophie? And I was like, okay, this is the girl he wants to introduce me to.
And he was like, Sophie, come in here. I need you to meet Michael. And so Michael was like, hi Sophie. And I was like, hi. And then she like went to give me like a fist bump thing.
And she like came with a high five and it was that awkward like, And in my head I was like, this girl doesn't know how to fist bump, like something's wrong with her.
Ruined it. So awkward.
And then we just started talking and
I was like, wow, he's actually like, I would love to go on a date with him.
And then I left. And I was walking back to my apartment. I was like, should I have got her number?
But then he didn't get my number.
So I messaged her on Facebook. I was like, hey, haha, like, we didn't have the book club again, so I didn't see you, but how was your Thanksgiving? And I was probably like 10 minutes before she responded, and I was like, oh crap, like, please respond. I was like waiting. And then she messaged me, and this was already pretty late.
And I was like, I just need to get to sleep. So I sort of sped it along and was like, well, if you want to go on a date, let me know.
Can I get your number? It's a lot easier than using Facebook. I just really wanted to get her number, and she was like, oh yeah, sure.
And then I just sort of left it there, and then I fell asleep.
I was calling to ask her out on a date, so I called her.
We talked for a long time.
So you're probably wondering why I called you, right? And she's like,
we talked for like 20 minutes on the phone.
Yeah, I think I know. And I was like, oh, like, why do you think I'm calling you? And she's like, to ask me on a date? Like, kind of hopeful. And I was like, oh no, that's not why I was calling at all. And she was like, oh really? And I was like, no, I'm just kidding, that's why I'm calling.
And I remember thinking like, wow, I am actually really excited to go on this date. It's gonna be a great date.
I made it a point right before I hang up. I was like, okay, Friday night at like 7, it's a date. I just wanted her to make sure of that.
He asked me to go to pho and then play broom ball. Pho was good. Broom ball, not so much. So I was really looking forward to the date with Michael, but not looking forward to the date itself at all, in any way. I was so nervous for this date with Michael. I like went and like bought a new outfit and like spent a long time like doing my makeup and stuff.
The date rolled around and I wasn't really nervous because I knew she was really easy to talk to and I liked spending time with her. So I went and picked her up and opened the door and she looked great. And I was like, okay, let's go.
And as soon as I saw him and as soon as we started talking for like 2 minutes, I was fine.
So we went and got pho, and
came the broom ball part.
She told me that athletics weren't really her thing, and that's true.
And we like finally left. He was like, well, what do you want to do now?
Because I wanted to keep hanging out with her. And so we tried to like figure out something. We couldn't figure out anything. I was like, are you hungry? She's like, no. I was like, well, let's just like drive around for a little. And then we're driving and she was just like, swings? And I was like, what? And she's like, let's go swing on some swings. And I was like, okay.
And that was the best part of the whole date.
And on the doorstep, I was like, okay, like I had a ton of fun. And she's like, yeah, I had so much fun. Like if you ever want to hang out again, just let me know. She's dropping me all these hints. And it's just like a movie. I was so smooth. I was like, well, how about next week? And then we just set up a date for next week. Yeah, that's the first date.
We had been going on dates for like probably 4 weeks at this point, and we hadn't held hands yet.
And then she was kind of like, Michael?
I was wondering if maybe,
is it okay if,
is it okay if we hold hands?
And I was like, whoa.
He didn't say anything. 30 seconds. It was probably more like 10 seconds, but it felt like a really long time.
I was like, oh, I guess.
And then he was like, well, which hand?
And she was like, probably the one closest to me. And I was like, oh, okay.
We like held hands, and it was so awkward. Just like trying to like hold his hand,
And we're just like sitting there.
I got to my apartment and I told my roommates about it, and I was like, guys, this is terrible. I don't know why he was so awkward about it.
And then I didn't hold her hand again for like 2 or 3 weeks.
The first kiss kind of happened like holding hands.
Yeah, it was a long time. I'm kind of a slow mover.
It just took a really long time. And I really like to take, you know, I'm not the kind of person that's like kissing on the first or second date, you know, or third or fourth or fifth.
You could call me old-fashioned, I guess. I think my parents taught me that way.
But you know, by the 6th date, you know, why not? I liked him. He was great and wonderful. But the 6th date came and went, and so did the 7th.
I'm gonna mean it, and it's gonna be the real deal.
And then we had known each other for like 2 months. So anyway, I was like, dang, I wonder why he hasn't kissed me yet.
And then our first kiss, it was like a super day. It's like a power day. I think that was the first time we hung out like all day long.
So we had like this amazing day together. We went to breakfast, and then we went to the this like taxidermy museum.
It's kind of lame.
Which was surprisingly very romantic. Then we like went to Utah Lake, and the sun was setting, and it was so romantic, and it was cold, and
she really wanted to kiss right then, but I guess I was oblivious.
I was like, this would be the perfect place to kiss. But we didn't, so that was fine. But I was like, you know what? It's fine. When it happens, it happens. It's cool.
I went back to my apartment.
We watched a movie, and then after the movie, he finally kissed me.
You know, just magical moment.
As soon as I got home that night, I texted my sister Maddie, hey, just so you know, we finally kissed, and it was super magical.
And she's like, but?
I realized after I pushed send that I had not sent that message to Maddie.
Oh, who'd you tell? And she's like, well, I sent the message, and it turns out I sent it to my entire ward council, which was like 30 people. I
like foolishly thought maybe if I deleted the text that no one would see it when they woke up in the morning.
And I just laughed so hard. I think that's so funny.
So I deleted it, but the next day at church, everyone was like, wow, Sophie, good job. Heard about your night last night.
But I mean, I owned it. I was like, yep. Yeah.
Shout it from the rooftops. I really like Michael, so now everyone knows. I guess that's not the worst thing.
I'm kind of a slow mover.
I'd wanted to say it even earlier than that, but I wanted to make sure that I like really, really meant it before I said it.
I remember, you know, we were just sitting and talking just really late, and at one point she's just kind of like, oh, you know, like I like you a lot, and I love you. And I was, again, same with the holding hands. I was like, whoa, like I really like this girl too. I don't know how to respond. And I was like,
Like, great. Awesome. Rejected again.
But when I said I love you, it was probably a long time after that. I'm a slow mover.
He was like, Sophie, I have something to tell you.
I was trying to say it, but I just couldn't. I was so nervous. I was like,
Okay, Michael, why don't you just say it in Chinese? Say it in Chinese. I want to understand what you're saying, and you'll be able to express yourself and not feel awkward.
Do you understand that? She's like, no.
And I thought maybe at one point he'd like switch back into English so I could understand what he was saying, but he didn't.
And eventually I got it out and they said, I love you.
And it was really special. Music to my ears, in Chinese or in English.
So when did I know Sophie was the one? Honestly, after I met her for the first time.
After our first date, basically, I was like, yeah, I could totally marry this guy. Like, he is exactly everything that I've ever, he is great. But I also knew, I was like, but we've only been on one date, so I need to get to know.
I just didn't have a lot of experience in the realm of dating. Sophie won't tell you this, but she's been on like 300 dates, like 500 dates.
But I was on my lunch break, and this is when I worked at BYU. He came by my office and he was like, hey, let's just go walk around campus, and it was really fun.
And I've been on 5 in my life. So
we were just looking around, and there was this big, like, mural photo of a mountain range, and I was like, wow, that's so beautiful. And he was like, you know, this is so random, but I really don't like the outdoors.
She probably knew a lot faster than me, but...
Specifically, he mentioned hiking. And in my head, I was like, perfect. Wow, that is great. He's the one.
I think I knew as soon as I met her, I really liked her.
He's a keeper. Michael lied about everything when it came to our engagement.
You know, I was trying to like say it without saying it.
There wasn't one thing that he didn't lie about. And let's exchange the word lie for, okay, yeah, he lied, but it was all for good.
She's like, did you talk to my parents at all? Like, it would have been the perfect time. And I was like, would you be mad if I didn't talk to your parents? And so she was so mad at that. She was like,
are you kidding? And I was like kind of frustrated.
I'm always like this. She hates it, but I always avoid the question.
Somehow Michael managed to make me think that I planned this date, but really he like put the thought into my head. It was like Inception. It was pretty sneaky.
She was like, you know, we should go on a double date with Matt and Josh. And I was like, perfect. Like, how about tomorrow, the day I was planning to propose?
Which, okay, I had planned to do a photo shoot date.
And so she thought she planned everything, but in reality, I was the one pulling all the strings. So we planned the date. Friday rolled around and I had them plan. I was like, okay, listen, you're gonna suggest that we go to the temple and we'll be there for like 15 minutes and then you'll tell us to like back up a little farther and then I'll just pop the question. They're like, great, awesome.
Josh was like, how about we go take photos in front of the temple?
And Sophie's like, you won't be able to see us if we're so far.
Of course the thought crossed my mind, like, okay, like there's a camera, we're at the temple, Michael could totally propose.
And I was like, hey, this is so random, but I have a question. She's like, yeah, what's up?
Will you marry me? So he was kneeling down and then I kneeled down and
she like sunk down on her knees and was like hugging me.
And it was great.
She was so confused. She's like, how did you do that? I thought I planned everything. And
happiest I've ever been in my whole life.
You know, I just real sneaky. Yeah. I think the amazing thing about Sophie is just the potential that I see in her. I think she just has so much potential to be an amazing like wife and mother, but I think more than that is that she brings out the potential in me.
And talking to my mom on the phone, she was like, Sophie, one day someone will come into your life and that there was a reason that you weren't supposed to end up with any of these other guys. Every time I'm around him, I just feel like the most loved, appreciated person ever.